Hi, I'm Ben, and this is my video channel. Yeah, this is gonna be a weird thing to talk about. Also, I just want to point out I'm wearing a Flash t-shirt with some Flash jammies and some Flash socks. Isn't that cool? Um, yeah, sorry. But here's the thing. Okay, word's been getting out that I've heard about multiple things. Two things. Number one, I heard because AT&T owns Warner Brothers or Warner Media or in something, and they're planning. And they're what I've heard, they're not that interested in doing comic book stuff, meaning they want to sell DC Comics to something because it's not making them money. Uh, yeah, because I don't want AT&T to sell DC Comics. I like them being at Warner Brothers. I know what you're gonna say. Well, they did this and this and this. I know what you're probably gonna bring up. Oh, Batman v Superman sucked. Justice League sucked. Sorry for if that's not a nice word to say, but this was a bad movie. That was a bad movie. Okay, so they don't have good something, and I'm well aware they make some good content and some bad content, but no one's perfect. Like DC makes good comics and bad comics, and even Marvel makes good comics and bad comics. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'll love for everything to be perfect, but here's the thing. For years, I've always grew up and knowing that DC Comics was owned by Warner Brothers. And I'm worried they're gonna sell stuff that are like, oh, this isn't making money, so we're just gonna sell it to this company. Me, 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 me. Because I'm worried, because haven't they learned nothing from, like, look at Marvel. Look at Spider-Man owned by Sony, and yeah, I'll get to that one, I'll get to that. Or Fox owning both X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool. Like, yeah, I know Disney owns Fox now, but still, I like for all of them to be owned by one company, and I'm worried they're gonna do the same thing. Like, what if they can't make a Justice League movie and they can't have these superheroes because they're like, oh, they're owned by this studio, so we can't show them in this movie. And I'm like, no. Look, I know the DCEU wasn't doing so good, but look, I've been a big fan of Justice League, because don't get me wrong, I love the Avengers as much as the next person. I love Avengers, and you've seen my videos. I love Avengers. But think about it. No one knew who the Avengers were until the movies came out. Like, yeah, chances are you probably already know them because comics and some animated things here or there, but from the 90s or direct-to-video movies. But besides that, most of you didn't know because of the movies, but don't get me wrong, I love the movies. I love the Avengers movies. I'm a big fan. But let's not forget, Justice League's always been around because was made before the Avengers, and everyone knew who Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, because they were really iconic characters. And I know the Avengers are now being even more iconic than the Justice League now due to their movie success, but think of how iconic they were from before, but it's not that. I always grew up seeing the logos and seeing like how that they were owned by Warner Brothers and everything was Warner Brothers. I know they had their hit and miss, but I always liked them being owned by Warner Brothers, like Batman the Animated Series. Maybe I'm too sentimental to the past of how a lot of stuff I watched as a kid by DC Comics were owned by Warner Brothers. But I kind of like him being just Warner Brothers. Maybe I'm being too sentimental or something, but I don't know. I just really don't want them to sell a doo-doo like, oh, money, money, money. And here's the thing. Spider-Man is going back to Sony. Okay, Sony didn't create Spider-Man. He was created by Marvel Comics by, forgive me for sounding like comic book guy from The Simpsons, but he was created by Marvel Comics by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko by Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics owns Spider-Man. Yes, they have the film rights, but but anything Spider-Man related should be owned by Marvel Studios, because Marvel Studios is Marvel Comics, because Disney has them. Because they should be owned by one studio, and it's literally their character, and I feel like Sony isn't being really fair and only just keeping them for money. See, here's my thing between Sony and AT&T. Don't get me wrong, I liked a lot of things Sony did. Like, I will admit, I have some enjoyment with Venom, The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is my new favorite animated movie. I love playing the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game, but I feel like they're just keeping Spider-Man because it makes them money and not for else. Here's the thing. You shouldn't really see business. If you're owning a business, you shouldn't really think about business as a business. I know that sounds weird, but you shouldn't really, yeah, like I just said, you shouldn't really, if you're working at a business and if you're like the main boss, you can't see making a business as a business. Let me explain, because really, you should really understand people and like saying why people didn't saw the Justice League movie, why DC movies aren't making enough money, why so people love Spider-Man Far From Home and everyone went to see it. Why are these movies great or why these movies are bad? But I feel like the higher ups just see like, oh, stock markets, arrow pointing up on the chart, this and this. Oh, money, we make money. Yeah, I feel like they just do that because it makes them money. I feel like they don't really understand, because if you don't have an understanding with people or why your product is good or why, because here's the thing I figured out. With every business, there's gonna be a SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs. You know in SpongeBob SquarePants where Mr. Krabs is like, oh, money, 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 money. I make Krabby Patties because of money. Because see, Mr. Krabs makes Krabby Patties because he wants money. But SpongeBob just wants to make Krabby Patties because he loves Krabby Patties and he wants to make Krabby Patties for everyone because you know how much, because it means to him, so it means to everyone else. Because that's what I've discovered is a business. Because I've seen documentaries of why people were making Spider-Man the PS4 game and why people were making the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Because basically, what they love their products, so they love making it. Because most filmmakers are artists. They want to understand why this should be good, why the story is good, and why. Because like, think of being a baker. You want to understand why your food is good. But if you really just see everything as a business and just see, like, oh, this makes us money, then you're not really understanding the love. Like, that's what SpongeBob teaching us. Because there's the love. It's not about money, it's the love. Like, don't get me wrong. I know why people need to make money off their properties, products. Because it makes them, because they need the money to afford to make new stuff, to keep the company alive, to make them more stuff. But I feel like what Sony and Marvel doing, Sony and AT&T are doing are just being like, money. Like, I feel like they don't really understand why, because I don't want Spider-Man to go back to Sony. I love the PlayStation game, I love Into the Spider-Verse, but it's really their character, and I feel like they're just gonna keep him for money, because it's really Marvel's character. It was always Marvel's character. It was never really theirs. And yeah, AT&T might be selling DC Comics. Well, if I had to choose, I don't want them to sell little bits by bits, like X-Men, like how X-Men is owned by Fox or this is owned by this. I don't want different superheroes to be owned by different film studios. If I had to choose, I want the whole DC product to be sold by one studio. And yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too sentimental to the past of how I enjoy, how I have good memories of all the DC stuff I watched were always owned by Warner Brothers, and maybe I'm too sentimental to the past. But I know, and don't get me wrong, we have good movies. I mean, Aquaman, it made a lot of money. It has a lot of divisive opinions, but it got better reviews than the other movies. Wonder Woman and Shazam, awesome. Yeah, I love those movies. But yeah, but I just wish they would just stay at Warner Brothers because oh no, because there's a lot of stuff from Warner Brothers I really like and really sentimental to my childhood. And I know there's some parts we don't like, but let's not forget the good stuff. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I doubt, because let's be honest, most of my YouTube videos don't get a lot of views. So it's not like AT&T or Sony is just gonna watch me doing this video and gonna be like, oh, this guy really cares. Let's not sell DC Comics, or let's give Spider-Man back to Marvel Studios. Yeah, that's not how big business works. That's not how it works. I wish it did, but it doesn't. Well, that's my video. I'm gonna miss DC Comics being owned by Warner Brothers. I love Spider-Man, and I guess I love superheroes in general. Yeah. Well, let's see what's gonna happen, and I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was a bit sad for me, but I hope you enjoy. Take care.